Raider Nation, it's time. This is the Raiders Squad. Sponsored by Gametime. Everything Las Vegas Raiders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Death Star in the desert. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Commitment to excellence starts here. The Raiders Squad Show starts now.
Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? Welcome back to the Raider Squad Show. Remember, if you like the content and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You can see that in the description below. And we're also on the audio side. So wherever you find your shows, podcasts, we're there too. And if you got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review because that helps the channel grow as well. We've got lots to get into, guys. Before we get to the docket and what's on the list today, you guys had a busy weekend, obviously, doing the pregame show, postgame show. You guys were in Vegas, alumni weekend for Link as well. So let's start off by just asking you guys, how was the weekend? How was the vibe in Vegas? We'll go with you first, Link, because it was alumni weekend for you.
You know, alumni weekend has always been special to me because I have a very true affinity to the guys that came before me, guys. And I feel, you know, somewhat of a responsibility of standing on their shoulders and helping to steer the future of the up and coming alumni and the ones that are, you know, a little bit more recent than say in the 60s and 70s and 80s. But for the most part, it was a fun weekend. And what I'm so proud of for the organization, both the Raiders alumni and the Raiders, the Davis family, is so proud that it has grown incrementally every year. There have been a number more guys. And you guys know we have the saying, once a Raider, always a Raider. So it holds true to no matter if you played one game or 50 games or you spent your whole entire career representing the silver and black. We've extended that. And then just talking to other players and other families during the weekend, I have a better understanding that we're the only one who does it like this. And that's something to be said. You know, Vegas is a city of entertainment, and we capitalize on that by having a football game the same time in which these guys and their guests are in Vegas. But to bring out a couple of guys and bring out some guys and hang around, power around, it was good. It was a really good time.
Yeah, it was awesome to be just a fly on the wall and be able to check it out and see all the great Raider alumni there. As Lincoln said, it continues to grow each and every year. I love the fact that Mark Davis makes sure that happens. The Raiders organization makes sure that happens. And I know it's special for the players. Every single one of them, Lincoln and everyone always says how special it is to be able to come back and, again, just be around the brothers and everyone that helped put this great organization together. So yeah, it's really cool. And then like Link said, and then there was a football game played as well, right? And so get that opportunity. And oh, by the way, I hung out with Lincoln all weekend long, so he can't shake me, man. So man,
he's like that little brother you just can't shake. He just, Mom, I don't want to take him with me. Come on, you're like, yeah, take your little brother with me. Come on.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sure you guys are glad that you guys are not in that small little room anymore, so you get a little bit of a break from each other.
It was fun.
Okay. See, Link, he's attached to you, Link. He likes speaking it with you too much, right?
Exactly.
I did want to ask you, guys, before we get into everything too, because you talked about how the Raiders are like the only ones to do this, and at the same time, like I feel like the Raiders are always full of tradition, and they're that one organization that their organization when it comes to tradition, they're really, really cultured about it. And so this is something that you don't really see with other football teams and everything like that, just in terms of what that means to both of you guys. Because Q, I know you've been a longtime Raiders fan, and Link, you're one of the greatest Raiders of all time. Let's keep it real here, right? What does that kind of mean to you guys? And of course, like, what do you think it means to the fan base of Raider Nation?
It's just special. I mean, to me, it's just really special to know that the silver and black stands for something. And the one thing that I always told everyone, and I know that, you know, the ways and the times that we live in get kind of muddy and people get so angry at each other. But for me, what was always so special, and the way I describe it, what the Raiders stand for, who the Raiders are, what Raider Nation means is we pull up at the Oakland Coliseum. And it didn't matter if you were from Hayward, if you were from Castro Valley, if you were from LA, if you were from Oakland, didn't matter what your tax bracket was, didn't matter how much money you made. It didn't matter, you know, what side of town you lived on, what you looked like, what house you might be going home to. For those 3 hours or 3.5 hours or 4 hours or however long you were at the Coliseum, you had 65,000 family members. And that was always the big thing. To me, it was always family. And it didn't matter what you looked like, where you came from, what you represented. It was all about those colors, the silver and black. And that was it. And it was awesome. And that's what really made me and drove me to being a Raider fan. And that's how I described it to everyone that might not have been a Raider fan at the time. Well, why are you so passionate about the Raiders? Well, this is why. And then you got to come to the Coliseum and experience it. When they did, they understood what I was talking about.
For me, it's almost like a big brother effect. I feel that I represent two generations, the late 90s and the early 2000s in a Raider uniform. And so what I hold true is when I can ever get my guys together. I see guys like Andre Rison, who I played with both in Atlanta and in Oakland. I see Tim Brown, and I also see my former fellow offensive linemen, their teammates. And what's funny, Chantel and Q, is when we were down in the Win Club, and this is the first time that I've ever watched the Win Club, okay? Because I'm normally in the booth covering it, but first time watching the game in the Win Club, and I'm looking around, and I've got two tables of nothing but offensive linemen. I've got Pat Harlow and Adam True and Daryl Ashmore and stuff like that, Chad Slaughter. I've got a couple of guys, Hall of Famers. I mean, not Hall of Famers, but offensive linemen. And then down the way, you have your Hall of Famers that are a little cliquish in their own way, but it's deserving stuff. Marcus Allen, Ronnie Lott, Tim Brown, Mike Kenny. They're all palling around. Those gold jackets are over there. So it's almost like a high school scene out of the movies back in the day where you see it very cliquish. Everybody has their own groups, but to see the eyes and to be able to interact with those guys that I might not have played with, the generations that came after me, and even some more of the generations before me, not seeing some new faces. A sad story, and just a little sad note on it, is that earlier this year when we had the Wellness Weekend and the Raiders hosted it over at the M Resort, there was a fellow offensive lineman. His name is Richie Stevens, who got some discerning information from the Wellness Report. However, chose not to do anything about it, died 4 days later. Now, I bring that up because I am a huge advocate of grown men getting checked out. Huge. I tell everybody, get checked out. Why not? Do it for your family. Do it for yourself. You deserve. And men, Chantel and Q, men, I can do it later. I'll do it. You can't put off your health. Your health is important. And I know because I have a family and I need to be around for my kids, how important it is to me. So I say that to say this. This alumni weekend helps me to make connections like that, to say, hey, next time we do a wellness, I want you to be around. I want you to be in there and get checked up and just advise it and see guys how it is. There's something about that locker room camaraderie. We are a consistent franchise in professional sports. Doesn't matter what team you play for. When you see each other, hey, how you doing? I didn't like you. I didn't like you. Whatever it is. But it is a big fraternity, and that fraternal order is something that's synonymous throughout the generation, through and through. The Raiders are one of those caveats that have to bring that thing together.
Yeah, that's a great message, Link. Also, mental health as well for grown men as well. I don't think that gets talked about enough, but that's a great message. Raider Nation, we got a lot to get into, but today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to get into everything in this show, including Aidan O'Connell, if there should be a trade that's made, how the guys think that he's played, if there's any drama with that. We're going to get into Ashton Jeanty's performance as well. And we are going to take a little bit of a look ahead and also recap the game that we saw against the Niners. But guys, before we do all of that, we were talking about the Raiders. We're talking about the history, the traditions. The one thing that I haven't got adjusted to with them moving to Vegas, because when I became a fan, they were in LA for a year and then they went to Oakland, and like my fans from Oakland. So I love them at the Coliseum. And for me, where is the home field advantage? There was too much red in that building. And this is something that happens all the time. And I remember going to the games at the Coliseum, and you had to have, let me just say, a lot of balls to rock another jersey in that Coliseum, right? Like that didn't really happen unless you were a lame Broncos fan or something like that, because we saw the ugly orange from time to time. But I just feel like there's no home field advantage in Vegas that, we got in Oakland. What do you guys feel about that? Because it's a city where a lot of people come to visit. So I feel like, it's one of those tourist towns. But what do you guys think about that? Q, we'll go with you first.
I mean, it's a destination location, right? It's Las Vegas. Everyone sees Las Vegas on the schedule. It's like, hey, I can go see my favorite team play there. Great, right? And you're absolutely right. And it's something that's been one of those conversation pieces that we've had ever since the Raiders have been here in Las Vegas. And so it's always going to have fans there. And, the funny thing is I always remember the Coliseum as well, and how you basically wore silver and black where you didn't wear anything, right? It was like, okay, you could tell the fans that weren't Raider fans because they just had their normal regular everyday street clothes. They wouldn't wear the other colors of the other team. They started to loosen up a little bit towards the end, but it was like that. It's just not going to be like that in Las Vegas. And the other thing about the situation is it's on the Raiders too. They've got to win. They've got to start winning consistently because it costs a lot of stinking money to come to Las Vegas and stay at the hotel and get the tickets and go out to eat and go and entertain yourself. Even if it's a 3-day weekend, it costs a lot of money to do that consistently to go and see your team lose. So they've got to get back to winning. Once they get back to winning, it'll be a little bit more evened out. It's still always going to be a destination location. There's no doubt about that. Because, again, who doesn't want to just go to Vegas for a weekend? Everyone does. So it's easy to have people go, but the Raiders have to do their part by winning.
Q hit the nail on the head. It's that simple. You got to win. If you want to create home field advantage, you have to defend home field advantage. You have to win. Yep. The Raiders did not have an overly positive record since they've been in the Allegiant Stadium. So what does that tell you? Everyone likes new things. But let's be smart, guys. Let's approach this, logically. If you wanted to go see a show and you knew it was a bad show, would you pay to go see it? No. It's a bad show.
Yep.
And so if you're a Raider fan, doesn't matter if you're a season ticket holder, doesn't matter what have you, if you're not sure what team is going to show up, if you're not sure that you're going to be able to walk away with the win and wear your jersey with pride, then why would you pay that hard-earned money to go to Vegas?
Right.
Like you said, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap ticket.
Oh,
especially post-COVID. You look at some of those hotel prices and some of those ticket prices. I mean, even before the season starts, I challenge everyone to Google Raiders versus Cowboys Monday night tickets. See how much those are going for.
Right.
Yeah. Before the season, I think to get lower bowl in the club seats, it was like $1,500 for a ticket, and that was like on StubHub. But that's ridiculous, right?
So,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And so for Raider fans, though, we know we all love the Raider Nation. We know that they will show up and show out, just like they did in Oakland. The thing is we won. We won football games. Yep. I mean, we beat people up, and they knew they were going to come in for a game. And I remember, even when we were struggling, I remember the Raider Nation turning out. So they will come. Mm-hmm. I do know those faithful that will be there, that continue to be there, continue to tailgate, continue to support the team. Even though things have changed, the dynamics have changed, they will be there. But everyone who's upset about the opposing jerseys, the Raiders have the most pressure of turning it around. You've got to find a way to win football games. I know they're doing that, but in the process, everybody wants to see something new. Everybody wants to see a show. And yes, there's been a ton of red. There's been tons of other colored jerseys. I've seen it for all the years that the Raiders have been doing it because I've been with the Raiders since they moved to Vegas. I've seen it, but you've got to win. That's Raiders' responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are some great points, guys. I just think, like, as a fan watching it on TV, it's hard to see sometimes. And then when you're there and it's like, a crowd of red when the Chiefs come to town.
And it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the stadium is all black. So every color that's out there that's not black, it pops even more. So the red that was in there, it was a lot. Don't get me wrong, but the red is even greater and it's even louder when you see it up against black seats and in a black stadium. I mean, it kind of is what it is. So yeah, but ultimately the responsibility goes back to the Raiders. If you're going to spend so much money to go to the game, if you're going to spend so much money to do all the entertaining things that you're going to do the time that you're in town, or even if you're here from town, then you're going to want to see, like Lincoln said, you're going to want to see a great show. You're want to see a winning product. When you start feeling confident that this team is going to consistently win at home for you, they'll go and support them. And it's just that simple.
I'll say one thing. I feel like Raider Nation does travel for their team, though. A lot of people come up from LA still. Yeah. A lot of people come from the Bay still. So they still have that support. I think it's just that home field advantage. Coming up in the next break, guys, we're going to break down the game between the Niners and the Raiders. Before we get to that and take a break, though, just your guys' thoughts on the vibe for that game and the excitement for that game leading up to kickoff. What were the vibes like for that game, Q?
It was great. I mean, me and Lincoln were on Coors Light Landing. We were there at the Torch doing the pregame show, and Raider Nation showed up and were taking pictures with us and hanging out. And Raiders, I mean, they were getting lathered up, but so it was great to see. I could tell that Raider Nation's already kind of in mid-season form, right? They're already rolling in. They're excited. They love their team, obviously, and the support is there, and that's the cool thing about it. So yeah, the vibe was great. Just walking in, past the tailgate area, even though it was 100-something degrees outside, folks were still out there tailgating. So yeah, the fans, they're on point right now. Now it's about the team getting on point.
I love game day. I love game day as a player. I love game day as a fan. I love game day even if I'm working. Q and I had the privilege of doing 2 90-minute shows pre and post, which is always fun. And I got a chance to watch the game from a different angle. Like I said, I've never never been around of the fans other than seeing them coming in and going and stuff like that. So it was an awesome experience for me. I wish the team could have pulled out a win, but it is what it is. And so, with that being said, I have my routine on game day, just like every other athlete. I still continue. I'll walk across the bridge like I do. I'll have my cigar. I'll visit some friends at tailgating, and I'll walk in the stadium, get prepared to do my work, watch the game, do my work afterwards, and then head home back to it. But I love the game day experience. And that's one thing that will always remain true to me. Doesn't matter the place where we go, because as you mentioned, Chantel, you know this, the Raiders fans do travel well, even on the road. I remember times in London and New Orleans where Raider Nation took over. Proudest Papa moment that I could possibly have. So, to see that. But, where we come full circle as we prepare for the season, it's the first home game for the Raiders at Allegiant. It's not the last, but it's only the first only preseason game they're going to have at home. And the other two are going to be on the road. So this is a great opportunity to see the fans, to get a chance to rub elbows with them, shake hands, kiss babies, do all that other stuff. And it was a good time.
Awesome. Well, coming up next, Raider Nation, Q and Link are going to break down their positives and negatives from the Raiders-Niners game. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're watching or listening to the Raiders Squad Show. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning up things with a fantasy football experience like never before. I'm playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league. The one thing that I always say about Yahoo Fantasy that I really love is just the interface of the app. Really easy to use, especially when it comes to mock drafts, because before you do your draft, you're going to want to do like a million mock drafts. At least I do. But to celebrate 28 years of football fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now it's time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in a head-to-head private league or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Remember, if you like the content you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Guys, we got to break down what we saw this past Saturday. The Raiders did not get the W. They took the L, but I feel like there was a lot of improvement from that first week. And so there was some positives from that game. So let's start off with the positives first, Raider Nation. Q, what did you like about this game that the Raiders just played? And were there any highlights or players that kind of surprised you or that you thought played really well?
Well, I thought the positives were that the offense looked good. The first team offense looked really good, and I think this offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch throughout the course of the year, right? I think Ashton Jeanty obviously did a lot better than he did in game number one against the Seattle Seahawks, and the offensive line helped him do that. The offensive line was able to give him some time, and so I thought that they did a good job opening up holes so he could run through, also giving Geno Smith time to get the ball out. And he got the ball out early to Brock Bowers. He got the ball out to Big Mike. He got the ball to Trey Tucker. He got the ball to Jacoby Myers, got the ball to Ashton Jeanty out of the backfield. Being able to spread that ball around, to me, is a big deal. And so I just think that what we saw from the Saturday preseason game was a lot of positivity on the offensive side. They're able to do some things that we haven't seen. And one thing that stood out to me that they're able to do that we haven't seen in a long time is they have confidence that they could put the ball in the belly of Ashton Jeanty on 3rd and 5, and he can go pick up a first down. Like, it's not very often that an offense is saying, hey, 3rd and 5, which is normally a passing down, we're going to go ahead and hand it to our running back because we believe he's going to pick up a first down. And Ashton showed what they could do, or he could do, by picking up 7 and a first down. So those are really some good positives, and I do think that this offense is going to continue to grow.
That is huge. As I've told Q, we talked about it in our stuff that we do together. The Raiders aren't a big draw or screen team. And though it wasn't a draw, definitively a draw, it was just a run. Most defenses who play the Raiders don't put that in their head. They even expect that.
Right.
They don't, because they haven't seen it over the past. So that was a nice surprise. And it was a good feeling. Look, I know it's preseason, and I know, you don't have all the starters across the board. But what I saw is a nice outing by the starters. And that's what I wanted. Improvement from week to week. It's not, gangbuster where you're going to sit there and say, oh, we're going to make a Super Bowl run. They look awesome, unstoppable. but you did see a little bit of consistency. I like the fact that they did try the long ball. They did take advantage on one-on-one coverage. The early throw to Brock Barrows got everyone excited. I thought that was a good sign to show. I thought they might have, conversely, I thought they might have relied on it a little too much. I didn't see a true development out of the passing game as I would have wanted to, the hope for it. But overall, I thought it was something that's coming together, and I could see the blueprint of how it's going to come together, and that was important, especially when you talk about being vanilla for preseason and not really showing too much. So that's a caption that's waiting to happen. Overall, I thought it was pretty good, a good outing, a good solid outing against a good team that has had good history, recent history, the 49ers. And I was really happy, even though they didn't come away with the win, I was really happy with the performance overall that I saw.
I'll tell you this, if Geno Smith and Dante Thornton Jr. start getting on the same page and they're able to hit that deep ball consistently, watch out. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've said it before, and in Link, we talked about it. The vertical game has also been something that hasn't been part of the Raiders offense in recent years. It's going to be, right? They just need to go and get on the same page. And Geno's a vet, Dante's a rookie, so they've got to work things out on, what Dante's looking for, how he gets open, exactly where Geno needs to hit him. But once they get on the same page and they're working on it consistently enough where they're going to get on the same page, that's going to be fun. And again, I do think that this Raiders offense will really be fun to watch this season. And once that element is brought into the game, watch out. It's going to be fun.
And as you added, I'm going to put my Professor Kennedy cap on. I'm going to explain the dynamic a little bit. There are a lot of teams the Raiders are going to face this season that play a single high safety. And because Dante Thornton Jr. is not a recognizable name, there's not an overall threat to where you feel that you need to put a safety over top. So even if you have a good corner and you have a speedy receiver, you're going to take shots like that. And much to Q's point, they just got to figure out the timing and the chemistry, because there was a long ball that it was over Thornton's head. There was one that was a little bit outside. They've got to figure out that consistency, because right now Dante Thornton Jr. is not a threat to anybody in the National Football League. Knows they don't know him. So it's not like you look out there and you see a notable name or what have you. There are going to be people that are going to key on Jacoby Myers. There are going to be people that are going to key on Brock Bowers. They're going to be key to Michael Mayer. The established guys, there are going to be defenses that are going to key on them. You're going to have opportunities for Trey Tucker, for Dante Thornton Jr., other guys to get open and possibly hit that long ball, one-on-one coverage with no safety over top. I don't mind taking a shot every now and then. Show them that that's what you can do.
Yeah, and Geno and Dante Thornton, they were trying it out. I think, just like you said, once they get that timing down, though, because they were going for it a couple of times. So that's the exciting part. And I think the fact that Geno has an arm and he
he can get it there.
It's effortless for him, right? So that's exciting about the offense. Now, listen, there's no offense without an O-line, right? I don't think like that. What did you guys think about the O-line? Because I feel like we know the five guys. Right. Yeah. We know the five guys, and I feel like now we're seeing them kind of get that continuity. And we've talked about the O-line a lot, but this is one of the most important pieces on this team. Link, your thoughts on what we saw for the O-line? And did you like what you saw?
Good outing. Good, solid outing. I thought they went up against a touted defense that has really good linebacker play in the 49ers. Good outing. They blocked the box well, more times than not, and something that we hadn't seen in a long time, especially the first preseason game against the Seahawks. There were not as many guys jumping the gaps and running through, and backs were not making cuts in the backfield. They established a line of scrimmage and the presence of the line of scrimmage. It was a good outing. I was really impressed with the starting five.
Yeah, and it feels like the starting five is going to be the starting five, right? We talked about the competition for quite a while. It feels like the competition is not quite over, but feels like it's close to over, right? I mean, Jordan Meredith, he got another
did a great job. Did a great job,
and he got another great compliment from Pete Carroll yesterday when we met with them after the game. I mean, it's always the day after we talk to the head coach, so we got a chance to catch up with him by way of Zoom yesterday, and he said, "Hey, Jordan Meredith is pleasing him, right? He's very happy with the job he's doing." JPJ is doing a really good job at the right guard spot, and there was a competition between him and Alex Kappa, but Kappa's not out there. He's not participating, right? And Link, right? Can't make the club in the tub.
Yeah.
Right. It's that simple. So, he's missed 5 practices in 2 games. So it looks like and feels like that the offensive line, the starting five, is going to be what it is, and they're really coming together. And that's all I was hoping for, is that they were going to make a decision on who the starting five was going to be, and they were going to have time to gel. It looks like they're starting to gel right now, which is a great thing. They have one more game. I don't know if they're going to get any burn against the Cardinals on Saturday, but then it's time to go, right? And then it's all about New England. So I'm glad that they're being able to work together and all come together as one unit.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know when we're going to see Alex Kappa. Obviously, they can't rush him because he's dealing with an injury. But
Right.
I think Pete Carroll was trying to make it a little bit interesting, saying that him and JPJ could be battling for a spot. But I think that's going to be
Right.
JPJ's spot, right? But this is kind of interesting because even what I was looking at, I was like, oh, looks like Gino's got time. And you're also getting the holes there for the run game. In terms of Ashton Jeanty, you guys talked about him a little bit. I thought he looked a lot better than that first game. And at the same time, like they're not going to use him as a workhorse, but a little bit of a scary moment as well in that game, right? Your thoughts, Q, on what you kind of saw from Ashton Jeanty behind that O-line.
I mean, welcome to the NFL, right? I mean, you saw the good, you saw the bad, and you saw the, oh, hey, this is the National Football League. This isn't college anymore, right? And so, I mean, there's going to be times when Genty's going to have to make a decision, right? He can't run everybody over, and he's going to, and I think he might have realized that on Saturday, right? He taken on a couple guys, a couple defenders, and thought he could just kind of barrel through them like he did at Boise State, like a bowling ball with knives on him. It don't really work that way, right? And so, he had a little stinger. He went out. He went into the medical tent, but he was fine after that. And then he turned around and trucked the 49ers safety. So that was kind of his, hey, this is who I am as well. So, yeah, Genty's going to be just fine. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, he's a guy that, man, he gets in behind those blockers and hits the hole, and boom, he can go pick up 7, 8, 9 yards really quickly. So he's a guy that's going to be a lot of fun. And you saw him catch a pass out of the backfield. Matter of fact, that's the one where he got the stinger on as he caught the ball out of the backfield. And, that's going to be a nice little outlet as well for Geno Smith. So, yeah, I mean, Ashton Jeanty is him. He's as advertised. And, nothing to get worried about because he didn't have a good preseason game number one. He's just fine. And can't wait to see what he does against New England and when he has an opportunity to play throughout the course of a game. I mean, remember, think about that. Running backs, really good running backs, get better as the game goes along.
Absolutely.
Right? We're just getting small sample sizes. When teams start to get worn down, could you imagine that dude coming at you in the fourth quarter? Right? You've been getting a healthy dose of them all game long, and all of a sudden you got to get him in the fourth quarter. It's got to get it time. Yeah, Ashton Jeanty's going to be just fine.
Q, offensive lines tend to get better the more they put out there playing too. So
exactly.
As the game progresses on, they be able to instill their presence more and more. And I was really impressed with Ashton. The thing is I thought with the offensive line doing their job at blocking the box, preventing penetration, that allowed Ashton to get downhill right now. We saw the power between the box that he promotes. The young safety came up, you better put your pads down and follow through or you're going to get trucked. As Ashton has to know, you can't do that to everybody. You got to know how to protect yourself. And you saw that when he took the stinger. It's a good thing to see him coming out of the backfield. This is all what we projected. And just a little side note, my thinking is this, and when we're talking about, I don't think Alex Kappa makes the final roster. I think they find a way to get out of it. I just want to throw that tidbit out there. I'm not waiting for him anymore. I'm no longer. I'm not waiting for him to show up. And it's no slight against him. If you're hurt, you can't do it. I certainly respect that. But we're under performance-based evaluation, and we do that. There's a game that has to go on. The show must go on. So we need people. We don't need bodies just standing on the sideline holding clipboards. So with that being said, back to the outing, I thought Ashton showed well. I thought the entire running back room did a good job. And we're starting to see the versatility that running back room promotes with Zamir White and Sincere McCormick getting touches on kickoff returns and stuff like that, being out there with special teams. That shows the overall value that these bodies, they're not just pretty faces and handing off the ball or catching the ball in the backfield. These bodies can do other things which are valuable to this team moving forward because it's really going to help out the final number if you have as much versatility out of your players that you could possibly have.
Yeah, and what were you guys' thoughts on Sincere McCormick and Zamir White? Because I think it was Rich Gannon on the broadcast, and he was just saying that, listen, if you're not a starter, then what you have to do is you have to be great at everything else, including special teams, and that's what he said on the broadcast. So, what were your guys' thoughts on Sincere McCormick and also Zamir White on special teams?
I thought the versatility was really good. I thought the fact that they were able to do that and be on kick return and be on special teams, I think that's vital for them, right? I mean, Rich is right. If you're not going to be the starter, you have to be a specialist or something else. You have to be able to show your value to the team when it comes to a numbers game. And that's exactly what it is. And remember, they're working with a 90-man roster right now. At some point, they're going to be working with a 53-man roster. And that's a lot of jobs that are going to be lost, right, in the next couple weeks. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to distinguish and show yourself and show your value to this staff of why you should be kept around. Yeah, I can run the ball. Yeah, I can catch the ball. I can play special teams. I can also be a gunner. I can, it's not just about returns either. It's also about, can you go tackle? Can you get down there and make plays? And that's where I think Dylan Lobby does a really good job, is he can kick return, he can punt return, he could be a gunner, he could do what he has to do. I mean, he could do just about anything on special teams, and that's going to really help him as well. So, there's going to be some good, healthy competition in that running back room, because there's a lot of really good talent in that room.
I'm hoping that there are far less kickoff returns than there are kickoffs, obviously, for unnatural circumstances. But what I do like is I do like Zamir White back there. The reason why is he's a powerful runner. He's a hard tackler. A lot of times, special teams players are linebackers and corners and stuff like that. If you can get them one-on-one, there's a lot of times where Zamir might have the advantage with his size and his power.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. That's great, because if he's able to break a long arm tackle or something like that, it could very well be to the house, especially with his speed. So I do like the versatility this running back room has shown, and I think it's absolutely essential, because they don't have the same sort of dynamic at the wide receiver spot. So normally in those situations, you see a lot of wide receivers and stuff, guys back there with the speed, because you don't have that depth and that dynamic on this roster. You don't necessarily need to add it. You have to define a true special teams returner. Whichever it's punt, kickoff return, you got to define it. It might be Dylan Lobby, it might not. And if he's hurt, or you have other responsibilities with him. So I like the versatility this running back room has shown us so far.
Guys, you guys mentioned, Link, that you don't think Alex Kappa is going to make the team. I think before preseason started, we were talking, and you guys were like, I don't know if they're going to keep all 4 running backs, right? Do you guys think that they're going to keep 4 running backs now? Because it's like, you got Raheem Mostert, you have Sincere McCormick and Zamir White, and then obviously Ashton Jeanty. Like, this is a solid running back room, and at the same time, like, they're doing other things. Link, do you think they're going to end up keeping all 4? Is that a possibility?
I think you have to.
Okay.
I think you have to, because you have the special teams dynamic that we just spoke of. I think you have to. If nothing else, even if they're not getting any burn in the backfield during the offensive plays, which they will, there's going to be a strong rotation amongst this running back group in the regular season, which they will. I think you have to keep them for the special teams aspect.
It's going to be tough. It really is. Again, it's a numbers game, right? And so if you keep 4 running backs, are you going to keep 4 tight ends, right? I mean, because you do 4
that's
here,
the big question right there.
4 here. Then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, well, that's a 53-man roster right there. And now what, right? So it's just really a numbers game. I mean, Ashton Jeanty, there's no question about him. After that, it gets a little, a little muddy as far as I'm concerned. You've got Zamir White. I feel like he's a shoe-in to make the squad. Does Raheem Mostert end up being the odd man out? Is he a possibility? He could. He's a veteran. He does special teams. He's a touchdown machine. Sincere McCormick, is he a guy that you end up moving on and trying to get him back on the practice squad? Because Dylan Lobby, I do think, makes the squad, and he's listed as a running back. I know that he's a special teams guy. That's where he's going to really, butter his bread. But so if you keep all of them, that's 5, So are you really keeping all 5? I don't think so. So something's got to give. I feel like it's really going to come down to Mostert or Sincere McCormick, in my opinion, when it comes to who's going to stick around and who are they going to try to maybe stash on the practice squad.
And with that information, I think Mostert has to stay, because the main reason, right, the Raiders do not have a power short yardage running game.
Right.
Sincere McCormick, as much as I love his speed and his ability to get in the open field and make people miss, between the tackles, he's condensed. His stuff his efficiency is taken away. You got to have someone who's savvy enough, knowledgeable enough to be able to get first downs, those hard-earned yards. And other than Mostert, you don't have that on this roster right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have a true fullback. You see what I'm saying? We don't use that type of system. So much to Q's point, it's going to – I think it comes down to this. I think you're going to end up having 5 running backs, including Dylan Lobby, even though he's listed as special teams.
Right.
I think you're going to have 3 tight ends on your roster. Right there, that's 8 guys. You need the versatility of the offense, which I think they're going to have with, JPJ being able to play the interior part. But, I'm thinking they're going to go in every game with 7 offensive linemen.
Right.
I think that's the most you can do, and it's going to be a thin area. Now you're going to try to hide some guys away on practice squad, because there are some guys that need some development, and we're going to talk about Aidan O'Connell, and I'll give my 2 cents to what's going on with him in a little bit. But there are some guys in development that you're going to try to hide away in the practice squad. It's going to be hard, but just as Q's point, it's going to be an interesting numbers game. There are some places where you can't take away the numbers that they're already there. You can't. You just don't have it any other way, so you don't have any other option. So because they still continue to struggle with short yardage and goal line, they have got to come up with a power theme. They've got to have a power back. Mostert's the only one in that locker room that does it right now.
Yeah,
or has been. I should say.
Yeah, that's the big thing, because they don't. Their short yardage game is still not good, right? I mean, that's something that we saw even when Ashton Jeanty got into the end zone. It took an act of God to get him in there, right?
Yeah.
It was not easy sledding, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Raheem Mostert, he is great in the red zone. That's somewhere else where Geno struggled last season. But obviously, new team, new O-line, all of that. So it'll be interesting to see who the Raiders keep. And as you heard Link say, we are going to be talking about Aidan O'Connell. So that was a great tease, Link. So Raider Nation, keep it locked here on the Raider Squad Show. You're watching on YouTube, or you're probably listening to us on the audio side. Thanks so much for rocking with us. We'll be back, though, in the next segment after we hear from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything: cold plunges, gratitude journals, and screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming to figure out what's true and what will actually help. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through Betterhelp can make all the difference. You get a real personalized guidance instead of just guessing based on something you saw on social media. And obviously, if you're not able to, head to an office, BetterHelp is an app where you can just get on the app and actually talk to somebody. So this makes everything a lot easier. And there, with over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, serving more than 5 million people. So talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month. So go to betterhelp.com/lockedon. And you can use our code. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. And this is how you know Link has been in the broadcast game for a long time, because he set up that tease perfectly. Q knows what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Aidan O'Connell. So let's kind of rewind a little bit, because that first preseason game, I was one of those people like, listen, Cam Miller should maybe be QB2. And everyone's like, pump your brakes.
Right.
Okay.
Slow
Aidan
your
O'Connell.
roll there.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that was you, Link.
Mhm,
And so, and Aidan O'Connell has experience over, Cam Miller's a rookie, right? So there's that aspect, but he also didn't look good against the Niners in this week 2 game, right? And so now there's the question of, should the Raiders maybe trade Aidan O'Connell, or should they go with a guy like Cam Miller, who maybe has a higher ceiling? Because is Aidan O'Connell who we thought he is, and has a ceiling? Is this his ceiling? So those are all the questions that are coming up right now. Link, what are your thoughts on Aidan O'Connell, and should the Raiders stay with him as their backup quarterback?
Yes, because he gives you the most experience and the most promise moving forward. No slight on Cam Miller. He played a lot of college football, but he hasn't played a lot of NFL football. Aidan O'Connell has taken his lumps. I am a firm believer in Aidan O'Connell, because I think he can be successful on this league, on this level. To his detriment, he's now under his third offensive coordinator in as many recent years. Am I right, Q? I mean, his third offensive coordinator,
Fourth.
and fourth offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fourth.
And on top of that, the second offensive line is a significant drop off from the starters.
Yep. Big time.
So before you blame the individual, you have to blame the pieces around him. The second offensive line is a lot of work. You've got a lot of young guys out there, a lot of green guys out there trying to find their way on the national football level, going at standard, the speed of the game. It happens just as fast for them as it does Aidan O'Connell. So there are times, though I think he has habits he has to work out of, has to expedite his process, speed up things when he's back there in the pocket, understand defenses, can't eyeball his receivers, all the things I've told Q on our shows that we've done. I do think he needs to work on that. That's a work in progress. But Aidan O'Connell will fetch you a nice ticket on the open market. There will be teams that will salivate from, because you can't get quarterbacks. They're not just readily available like that. So Aidan O'Connell was our best second option at quarterback. Okay. They've got to do better at the offensive line, or it has to do better scheming with that offensive line is in there. And of course, the sample size is going to be this. He's going to have most of the bulk in this Arizona Cardinal game coming up, the third preseason game. He's going to play more. Probably won't play with the starting offensive line, but I would like to see a scheme more for his offensive his strengths, much like we saw in the second half of the Seattle game. Remember, it was a much better outing for him in the second half of the Seattle game. Why? Because they made adjustments. That's what you have to make when you're at Aidan O'Connell at quarterback. and you don't go into the same game. With Geno Smith, your starting quarterback, the same game plan for both of them, and you usually don't create two different game plans for two guys because you're not expecting that, and you don't want to confuse a lot of your star players. But Aidan O'Connell is a quarterback that's capable of being in this league. He needs a little bit more slack.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is if Geno Smith goes down, you want to have Aidan O'Connell with that experience. You want him to be able to get the start. Cam Miller is not ready. I said that after preseason game number 1, even though there's a lot of people pounding the table because he did some good things. But again, it was preseason game number 1. He's still a rookie. He showed that in the end of the 49ers game that he still was a rookie and is going to make some rookie mistakes. So he needs to have time to develop. So Cam Miller is going to continue to develop. Aidan O'Connell should be the backup quarterback. He does play slower. Pete Carroll said that yesterday that, hey, our offense goes slower when Aidan O'Connell's in there. We need to learn to speed that up. He needs to learn to speed that up. To Lincoln's point, he does need to have, better protection around him because we know he's not fleet-footed. We know he's not a guy that's going to get out there and start running around. But he needs to play with more confidence. That's what right now he's not playing with. And I'm not too sure why he doesn't have the confidence. I don't know if it's because he's hearing people talk about Cam Miller, if he's just not very comfortable in the offense, the scheme. He doesn't trust the protection. There's plenty of different reasons for him not to have confidence. He's not playing with it right now. So he's making bad decisions. He's making decisions that he made in the past and going back into the bad habits that he had, like staring down his receivers, which leads to turnovers. So he's got to clean that up. But still right now, currently, present day, he's still the best option at the number 2 quarterback for the Raiders. I
think that kind of worries me, though, that he's the best option. Yeah, because it's like if Geno goes down, I'm not confident with – I hate to say it, and I don't want to be a hater, but I'm not confident with Aidan O'Connell running that offense.
He's giving you no reason to be right now.
Understandable. Totally understandable.
Yep.
Yeah, because he doesn't look confident out there, and that last pick was brutal. That was all on him, I thought. And so I don't know what it is. Is it the scheme, guys? Do you feel like the offense doesn't fit? Is not good for him in a sense that they're not building it around him, or what do you guys think?
For sure, I think some of it has to do with that. I don't think he's a great fit for Chip Kelly's offense, which is the reason why I don't think he'll probably be around after this year. But again, right now, currently, he's the best option for the Raiders if they have to go to their backup quarterback because he does have that starting experience. He has won games in the National Football League, and you're not just handing it over to a guy who hasn't done anything. So he's trying. The one thing I could always give Aidan O'Connell a lot of credit for, he's always going to be a pro's pro. Like he's going to go out there and he's going to handle his business and he's going to try to learn what he needs to learn. And again, he's on, offensive coordinator number 4 now. So he's learning another scheme. He went from McDaniels to Getsy to Turner to now he's on Kelly, right? And that's 3 years and 4 coordinators. So you do the math, right? Something don't add up there. It's the math ain't mathing. So it's not the ideal situation for him, but he's always going to put in the work. So I give him credit for that. I feel like he'll always be ready and prepared. You'll never have to wonder like, hey, I wonder if Aidan's been working this. No, he's always going to be working. He's always going to be prepared and ready to go when his number's called. You just hope that, honestly, that the Raiders don't have to call his number because, again, he's not playing with confidence right now.
Chantel, you made a mention earlier about mental health.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the mental fortitude that you need to have to play on this level and be successful on this level, the professional level, when you look at the intangibles that are around you? Much to Q's point, your 4th offensive coordinator in your short-term in NFL. Once upon a time, you were possibly representing the future starting quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. That wasn't that long ago. Now you've been relegated to the 2nd position. And to be honest with you, they're still with the 2nd team and the reserves that come in there. They don't have a running game, which is usually a quarterback's best friend. And all the pressure is put on this young man's shoulders to lead the team. We're down or we're up or whatever, protect the lead, let's go out there. More times than not, he's throwing the football.
Yeah.
He went 15 for 23. There were only 60 plays, offensive plays that the Raiders had this game. 15, so 23 plays were on him to make it happen. And of course, it's not a good outing when you throw interceptions or you can't make it happen. But he did get a nice little ball in there, a time of here and there. He's shown promise. And that's why I think he's your best option if Geno Smith goes down. Now, with that being said, I want to echo what Q's point. He is not a good fit for a Chip Kelly offense. But you didn't hire Chip Kelly thinking it's Aidan O'Connell as your quarterback. You hired Chip Kelly thinking we're going to do something different. And yes, we still have Aidan O'Connell. So there's a separate game plan that goes for Geno Smith and Aidan O'Connell. It's 2 different. So if Geno Smith's not available, you put in the game plan for Aidan O'Connell, you see how it works. But I still think he gives you the best option as your number 2 quarterback. He's got to have better protection. They've got to have a running game. You've got to take the pressure off this young man because, as we talked about, short career in the National Football League, you've already had 4 offensive coordinators. That's 4 different people in your ear.
Yep.
And I know Greg Olson's been a big part of it, but come on, it's still 4 people,
right.
Sitting in your ear trying to tell you to do it. And I can only imagine the pressure of, on him, on his shoulders. I still think he has the ability, guys. I really do. It just has to have the right assets around him to show that.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he wasn't playing with the starting O-line as well is a big factor. So that's kind of, I guess, a positive that you can look at it because he's not playing with that starting lineup in terms of the
depends on
O-line.
how you define positive, Chantel. I mean, it's not a positive or a negative. It's just what it is. And I talked with several reporters who asked me about Aidan O'Connell, and I'm like, look, I understand what people see because that's a finished product, but you have to look in between the lines. Right. You have to look at how the small things, the small intangibles play into factor. It's not a positive or negative. If he goes out there and lights it up, then people are saying, well, maybe he should possibly be the starter. I mean, he threw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, no. Again, we're talking about preseason. We're talking about vanilla game plans. All the other intangibles have to be looked at before you necessarily make a decision on Aidan O'Connell.
Yeah, so you heard it from Link in Q. Don't panic yet when it comes to Aidan O'Connell, and he is the best option for a QB2. So Raider Nation, keep it locked here on the Raider Squad Show because coming up next, we're going to be talking about the defense and the positives and negatives from what we saw against the 49ers. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're watching or listening to the Raider Squad Show. Welcome back, Raider Nation. So, guys, we got to talk about the defense, and I felt like we should touch on this last because there might be a lot to talk about here. What were you guys' thoughts on just what you saw with the defense, and where do you think the biggest concern is? Q, we'll go with you first.
I think the biggest concern is communication, and it's actually something I asked Pete Carroll about on Sunday when we got a chance to catch up with them. Is the linebackers are all they're veterans, but they're playing with each other for the first time, and so a lot of what we saw against the 49ers in joint practice and even the game on Saturday is a lot of crossing patterns, a lot of misdirection, and they get lost in the sauce. And so that's the situation. But then you look at the secondary as well, and there are a lot of young guys, right, trying to find their way. They're also having issues when it comes to communication. And so there's got to be, and I know reps are going to be just a major part of it, but there's got to be somewhere where they're able to clean that up and they're able to have that communication where the middle of the field is not wide open, because as we've seen, and we've seen it unfortunately for some years now, the middle of that Raiders defense has been wide open, and we saw it on full display on Saturday, especially on the last couple drives that ended up costing the Raiders the game against the 49ers. It's just there's a lack of communication right now. So with a very young secondary and linebackers that are still starting to work with each other and starting to figure each other out, I think that's the biggest issue is just communication and those guys knowing where they need to be at all times.
This is where you miss a guy like Spillane. And because the reason why there's a lot of space to be taken up in the middle part of that defense, short and intermediate zone areas. And right now, and it's always been evident in the Patrick Graham defense, the middle of the field is wide open. Too many opportunities in the middle of the field. The fact that you had, 3 receivers, I think, for the 49ers that averaged almost 14 yards a catch, that's cannot happen. And I think this defense puts so much of an emphasis because of guys like Max Crosby and Malcolm Koonce and Tyree Wilson that you're going to get pressure to the quarterback. You're not going to have that much time. That when the protection holds up, there are holes in this defense. That guys, much to Q's point, have to have that communication and that sort of wherewithal playing this defense. You know what? There's going to be a receiver that's open right behind me or is going to come open, and I got to be ready to take that pick. I saw many guys in the right area, in the general vicinity, but they're it's almost like a deer in headlights. Oh, wait a minute, he's there? Oh, I didn't know he was there. So that goes back to communication. That also goes back to guys playing together under this scheme. It will come. I think the defense is still going to be the strength of this team. It will come, but at the same point, you also have to have that plan to when it's 3rd down and 7 or 3rd down and 8 or more.
Oh, man.
You got to learn how to get off the damn field.
Man.
Yeah.
And we have not seen that this early season in this football team. You have got to find a way to get off the field. If you do everything right in the first 2 downs and you set up a 3rd down and long situation, it's not, let's just open up the floodgates and give them a first down.
Right.
No, Get your ass off the field. That's where this defense has not yet been, okay? And it's still work in progress. And like I said, I think it's going to be good. But much like the offense, these guys have got to find a way to play together.
3rd and 18, the 49ers pick up 20. 3rd and 12, they pick up 14. 3rd and 9, they pick up 11. 4th and 8, they pick up 9. Like those, you cannot allow that to happen. Those things cannot happen. You also can't make a really good play on defense like the Raiders did and then have a 15-yard personal foul penalty that gives them a first down, right? They would have had 2nd and 10 from their own 30, the 49ers' own 30. Instead, they end up with 1st and 10 from the 49ers' 45. You know, because of a 15-yard penalty. Those kind of things you can't do because you're a detriment to your defense. And as Lincoln's pointed out, this defense is all about that defensive line getting home, right? That defensive line getting to the quarterback. If that defensive line doesn't get home, if that defensive line is struggling and only coming up with a sack or two or a couple pressures here and there, then there's going to be time for the quarterback to find an open receiver. And that's how guys average 14 yards a catch, 12 yards a catch, 11 yards a catch, 10. They had 3 or 4 guys that average double-digit numbers a catch. That just can't happen. And again, it's the whole dynamic of the Patrick Graham defense. Defensive line has to get home. If they don't, everyone else behind them's got to do their job, and they can't open up the middle of the field. But again, we've seen that happen too many times.
When it comes to this defense, guys, the linebacker core is the one that I'm relying on to sort of be the calm before the storm. That storm is up front with the defensive line. But this linebacker core has to understand, because you have such an aggressive defensive front, teams are going to draw you. They're going to screen you. They're going to do everything they can to take advantage of that aggression. Yep. You, as a linebacker core, have to be in the right place. You have to be able to, and safeties coming down, helping in the box, have to be in the right place and understand those reads. This is a possibility. Hey, it's 3rd down and 6. You know what? They're probably going to hit us with a screen. I need to be ready for that. And need to be looking for that type of thing, and follow the keys that support that, because that's what teams are going to do against the Raiders. Not only open up the passing game if they block the front 4, but you're going to come across teams with that precious quarterback who's going to more rely on the screen and the draw game, and also the fact that they know that you could probably go for it on 4th down and get it because you're not been getting off the football field. So these are all markers going forward that the Raiders defense needs to correct.
Yeah, 3rd down, watching the defense on 3rd down in those long situations, it was brutal to watch. Hopefully they clean that up. Yeah. But one guy that was
they have to clean that up. Like that's a non-negotiable. Like you can't get 3rd and 18 and allow them to pick up 20. Like that, there's no way that happens. The quarterback and the offensive coordinator and everyone should be getting their game plan together for what they're going to do with their first, possession and how they're going to navigate that drive. And instead, the defense is still on the field. Like that, you're not going to win games if you give up 3rd and long like that. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and they were consistently giving up 3rd and long, which was the tough thing to watch. Guys, one player that was kind of everywhere in this game was Tyree Wilson. What were your thoughts on his performance? Because he was getting a lot of burn and he was put in a lot of different situations. Q, your thoughts?
I thought he looked good. I thought Tyree looked really good. I got a chance to talk to him on Thursday after the joint practice, and he was in a good place. He was, saying that he was excited about this opportunity. He knows what the team needs from him. I think that was the most important thing, that the team needs him to be outside. They need him to be inside. They just need him to be a disruptor, right? He may never end up being the guy that they drafted when he was number 7 overall, but he just needs to be a disruptive force. He's going into year 3 now. It doesn't matter about where you were drafted, what the expectations were. Now it's just about going out and making plays, and he knows that. And I think that is half the battle. And I thought he did a really good job. He's continuing to show what he can be. And if he can end up being that guy that's a disruptive force along that defensive line and part of that deeper rotation, then that plan of getting to the quarterback consistently and being able to stop the run consistently, then that could come together. And with his length, he has the opportunity. If he can't get home, he could put his hands up, put his arms up, and he could knock some balls down too. So, there's so many different things that he could do with his body frame. He just has to put it all together. And I think that you're starting to see it come together. I hope that it, goes from the preseason into the regular season.
I thought it was a coming out party for him. I really did. I thought it was a coming out party. It's what you expected to see when you drafted him number 9 overall. I thought it's what you wanted to see, and that's where it's developing into. And I tell you what, another person to be on the lookout for, I've been impressed with his game, is Charles Snowden. I like this young man, the way he's coming into it. I think he had 6 tackles and a couple tackles for loss. I think just a little added caveat, not to get away from Tyree, but this is what preseason is invaluable for. I mean, really it is. This is the point where you have that opportunity, and whether it's 2s, 3s, you want to see that number show and shine. And I think that my biggest, sort of not necessarily emphasis, my biggest critique of Tyree is that he has to remember when you're playing the defensive tackle spot, as long as you have to play lower, because he's allowing a lot of those smaller guards and younger and smaller guys to get into his midsection. That can control his momentum going which way or the other. He's got to play with his pad level lower. Of course, as much to Q's point in passing situations, if you're not getting in, you push. Yes, get your arms up and be a big figure, a big statue or a big building in the middle of that defense. You can knock down some balls that way, but he's got to play with a lower pad level.
Yeah, and we have to see him develop more of a skill too when it comes to
the defensive tackle spot. Yeah,
for sure. And so one thing that I did notice was the fact that the Raiders in this game got a takeaway, right? Like Jeremy Chin had a takeaway, which is great. And that's what the Raiders defense needs. But here's the thing, guys. Are you sold on the secondary? Because I feel like there still might be a chance where, and I wasn't kind of down with this before, but I feel like there's still some questions in the secondary. And now it's like, do the Raiders go out and get a big name? Like, I think there's a possibility that they might try to add some depth to the secondary. What are your thoughts on that, Link?
The Raiders have struggled with zone. They've struggled with man-on-man. There are certain guys that they have in that secondary, and I'm not going to be specific because I'm not going to call them out like that do better than in certain areas and than others. Meaning that if the Raiders have an issue where they want to blitz because they're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback, you force that secondary on to play man-on-man. The starting five, not the best. I mean, the starting secondary is not the best for man-on-man. There are going to be holes. There's going to be exposure. Conversely, if you trust that your front four, and maybe in a 5-man, a dog or something like that, you get pressure on the quarterback. They have to be better equipped to play zone and know how to play in space. What I've seen so many times, Chantel and Q, is that the corners will release a receiver on the secondary and intermediate level to a safety. Safety's not there.
Right.
Safety's not present. It's a big hole. So that's why you see a lot of those deep digs, those deep in routes, the middle of the field, outside the hashes between the numbers comes wide open. That's what teams have notoriously picked on with the Patrick Graham defense in the past. And a lot of times in zone, you're relying on those linebackers to drop underneath to maybe to take that play away, or the safety to come down and be able to make that interception, being in the right place at the right time. But because you are so worried about the deep ball, as a true safety does, you can't let anybody behind you. That's where that hole opens up, especially when they have a seam route or a dig route. I mean, a deep out route that's going to take that safety out of play. So there are guys that have to learn how to play better in space. That's much more going back to the conversation that Coach Carroll had about communication on that second level. That's where it has to happen. It comes from safety spot to the linebacker spot, so on and so on. So to be honest with you guys, and I don't mean to sort of avoid the question, they haven't defined what type of defense secondary they're going to play.
Right.
So it's hard to say if you've got the pieces in place or not, because certain guys don't play man well, and there's certain guys that don't play zone well. You know what I mean? That's the intent. But that's why you see such a shakeup in the secondary, in my opinion.
And they've played a lot of zone as of right now, right? Yes. So far, what we've seen is a lot of zone. We also see the competition, right? I mean, at one point, it was Stokes and Darian Porter as the starting outside corners. Now on Saturday, you saw Caillou Blue Kelly get the start as the outside corner. So Porter is a rookie. He's going to have his rookie moments. He's done really well on special teams. He made a nice special teams play on Saturday, as a matter of fact, but he's still got things he's got to clean up when it comes to being a corner. So now you're seeing, Caillou making some moves, and maybe he's going to be a guy who's going to compete for the starters. But for the know that you don't know exactly who your starters are yet, and knowing that competition is still wide open, and like Link said, that they're not sure exactly even what defense that they're playing, it makes it hard to make a decision. They might have to go out and bring in a veteran just to have that. They don't have the depth there, right? Even after trading Jacorian Bennett, who unfortunately he got injured in the preseason game with the Eagles. I hate that for JB, but again, that's kind of the story of his career so far, is he's been often injured. So there was that, and it was a shoulder injury, which is what he had, last year that cost him the majority of the season. So, just getting back to the point, though, I mean, they've got to figure out exactly what they're going to do, who's a specialist of what, and how they can take advantage of that. And that's the biggest thing. Even Stokes, I think, still has some questions. So you still got to pay attention with him, even though nobody's really talking about him. He hasn't had the greatest moments either. I mean, again, it feels like this defense is still coming together, but there's still a lot to be desired about, how it could be put together the way that Patrick Graham wants to run it. and I don't know if those guys are all quite fitting the mold of what they're trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so a lot of pros and cons, but we learned a lot, I felt like, about the Raiders in this second preseason game, and they got better from week 1. Now, we're going to be back on Thursday morning, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be breaking down the game, obviously, Raiders, Arizona. Guys, you guys going to be doing another pregame show for that?
Yeah,
of course.
Why not?
Okay, exactly.
Absolutely.
So tell Raider Nation where they can listen to that, where they can find you guys. So it's a pregame show and a postgame show. Like that's
right.
That's great coverage. It's you and Link covering the whole entire game.
I think the easiest way, I mean, it's Compass Media Network that we're a part of, Raider Nation Radio 920. If you're local, you can hear it there. I think the easiest way is probably just like Raiders.com. I think that's the easiest way to I think it's broadcast on the website for the preseason game. But yeah, we're on it, man. Me and Big Link, it's fantastic. I get behind my blocker and we're good to go.
I got the holes open for you, brother. I got the holes open for you.
You
might not know where to watch or where to listen to us, but I know where I'm going to be. So I'm going to definitely open up the hole for Q. So much where you look, you can search on the internet and find us. Q knows that better than I do. I don't ever listen to myself, so I'm just going out there doing my damn job.
Well, I think I'm going to put the link in the description. So remember, Raider Nation, make sure to check out Q and Link for the pregame show ahead of the Raiders and Arizona game, and we will be breaking that down on Thursday. We'll be back, Raider Nation. Thank you so much for rocking with us, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.